Hello, my darlings. This is Alicia. I am so happy to record another video. The last video that I recorded, it was, I believe, under 10 minutes, and it was called A Call for Unity. So if you came across of this video for the first time, please check out my other videos that I've been posting previously. I wanted to kind of say that the video recording is kind of new to me. I was doing this only maybe for a year and a half now, right? So briefly speaking, never had the prior experience speaking into the camera except for when I used to go to the community college in that sense, right? However, with development of the kind of spiritual awakening that I went through in 2023 and development of the channeling ability that is a natural ability to all of us, right? The infinite consciousness spirit energy was actually bringing me to start recording and start actually delivering the messages. And today I wanted to kind of go in depth of the channeling process, right? And so some of my friends and some of my other listeners who were watching my videos previously maybe see how the channeling subject is actually maybe redundant through my videos. However, guys, I wanted to add more clarity into channeling, and I think from this video we're going to start our video series that is actually going to go more into the depth concepts of what is actually taking place within us, as I was exposed to the I would say very kind of like expanded level of consciousness information. So I just wanted to explain that how it works. Okay, so infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence. Before I actually jump into this, I wanted to add a little bit more clarity of people who've been watching me before, and I constantly we touch on the subject of channeling, but we actually don't go into the depth of channeling, right? And so this is the video I would like to record. When I started recording this video, I didn't know what we're going to talk about, and it seems that infinite consciousness wants to expand the subject of channeling, and that this subject is because there are a lot of misunderstandings and there is not a lot of information about the channeling, even though you let's say might find some information in spiritual let's say literature. In that sense, it's actually understanding of channeling depends on our level of consciousness and to what higher truths we exposed, right? So because our reality is based on the levels of consciousness at which it's kind of like a layered, multi-layered system which goes into the infinity. And to be honest, how analogy comes to me, those layers, they're kind of like a layered cake in that sense. However, there should not be a kind of perception that if a person is, let's say, operating on the higher level of consciousness in the person who is operating on lower level of consciousness, that there is some type of, I would say, there is some type of superiority in that sense, right? So it doesn't mean that at all. So it only means that the person who is actually cleared their energy system and elevated their, I would say, level of consciousness. They're operating within the higher level consciousness, and it means that person is actually exposed to the higher truths in that sense, right? So, and that person who is channeling at the higher level of consciousness, they released some heavy, I would say, illusions, kind of cleared their energy system, removed and let go of anything and everything that does not serve highest and the best, and they're actually elevated. They're elevated their energy system to operate at the higher level of consciousness. But in any way, the person who is operating under higher level of consciousness versus a person who is operating on the lower level of consciousness, there is no superiority. So we just want to make it very, very clear. Okay, so when I say higher level of consciousness, I don't mean that that person is actually superior. And so again, this information is actually repeating itself, because this is very, very important point, because I come across of some spiritual concepts when some people, let's say some of us who are in the process of spiritual awakening, thinking they're expanded their level of consciousness, they're kind of maybe looking at other people who are still on, let's say, on their way to awakening, or they're on a lower level of consciousness. They're kind of this also, I would say, superiority factor is pretty visible, right? However, superiority, I would say the concept of superiority is actually an illusion, right? Because we're equally important. Each one of us are very unique. Each one of us are very individual. We are very beautiful in our each own individualities in that sense, right? And so there is no person like you. There is no person like me. There is no person ever completely the same. Even the twins, actually, they are different in nature, right? In that sense, because they have different personality, they have different abilities, they have different type of gifts and talents that they were born with, right? And so the concept of there is no one person who is the same in that sense, because we're all unique, we're all individual. And this is very important actually to understand that each one of us who is materialized in this physical reality carries within themselves a very unique, very authentic soul's purpose in that sense. And that even more unique than I would say the uniqueness actually is kind of like also a layered concept, because when we expand consciously, when we actually clear our energy system, when we connect with the source, when we are actually being guided with the source to expand more and to get ready for our soul's purpose, we come into, so I came into the concept how the soul's purpose actually is formed. That information was shared to me, right? So in my prior videos, I was touching on this. So the soul's purpose is actually consists of very unique qualities of in an individual soul that come together, and they're actually all kind of like a unique, very unique recipe, right? So let's start with I think it's very important, we think it's very important to actually add a lot of clarity about the channeling concept. So whatever I was talking right now, it was kind of like a small introduction. So let's start from the beginning. So as I mentioned in my previous videos, since we are consciousness, we're infinite consciousness that is materialized in this very unique, very authentic physical form. Right? So each one of us are born very unique, very authentic in that sense, very individual. And each one of us are born already with I would say pre-existent, already kind of designed, engraved within our system, abilities, talents and gifts, and personality traits. So personality trait is coming from our energy system, right? So it's not coming from our physical attributes, even though our physical aspects can relate to the kind of structure of our personality in that sense, and our life experiences also can affect our personality. But our personality, our emotional kind of structure in that sense, it comes from the energy and the consciousness that is materialized within our physical body. Also, before we are materialized, before we actually even conceived, right? Before we're even I would say when life happens, when, for example, male chromosome meets the female chromosome, so that's when it's actually happens. That's when the first, I would say, spark comes in, and it gives a signal to the infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence, to start pulling the authentic, very unique attributes, very authentic qualities, the energies that will be in high demand that are needed within this within this person's lifetime, in that sense, right? So that's when it's actually the first spark comes in, but that's when the life starts, right? So actually life never ends if you think about this. So life is infinite. It just actually I would say it's actually just transforms into the new shape, into the new form. So the energy is pulled first, and it starts to actually also being accumulating, kind of like a layered system, kind of like look at this, kind of like an onion or a cabbage in that sense. So it starts to different energies, different personalities, different traits. The energy system actually starts to accumulate when this first spark happens. And so infinite intelligence, the highest mind there is, it's already knows ahead of us actually coming into this physical reality. And to my understanding, it's actually it is known to the infinite consciousness who is going to be born at specific moment, many lifetimes before we actually come to this earth, in that sense. So our birth is not a kind of an accidental event, in that sense, right? And so many people think so. However, there is a very, I would say, there is infinite preparation of the energy system, and the physical actually attributes are being prepared long ago, before we actually come into this earth, before we're supposed to come to this earth, in that sense. And so the energy system, it is structured when the life actually originates within the woman's womb, right, inside of the mother's womb, in that sense. And so that's when it actually starts to develop. It starts to develop together with the fetus, in that sense. And so that's when our very unique gifts and talents are actually I would say come into this I would say our make, right? Should I say that? Anyway, so that's when our gifts and talents are actually start to originate, in that sense. And so when we are born, when we're a baby, we already have a full set, right, of the gifts and talents and personality traits and kind of like different attributes with our energy system within our physical body as well, which is, I would say, prepared. It's also like an individual recipe. So as I was awakened to the infinite consciousness, in that sense, the more information, the more we expand, guys, the more we expand our level of consciousness, the more we clear our vessel, in that sense, the more information starts coming in, right? And it comes, I would say, it doesn't come to us kind of like right away, right? So it's a very, I would say, it's a very, very gradual process. So people, some of us who are thinking, if, for example, if awakened person, spiritual awakened person, they're awakened, and let's say they achieved some type of level of enlightenment, it means they know a lot of information. It is cannot be further from the truth. Actually, the information is not given to us just like this, right? So what I noticed is that when we awaken spiritually, this is just kind of like the beginning. This is this is kind of like an awake call, right? And then I believe our senses and our abilities starts to actually awaken as well. So we start to awaken to our natural abilities. And I was going to also touch on that. So since we're consciousness and since we are energy, we're going to repeat this again, because I did say this in my prior video, but some information will be repeated. It's just kind of a lesson, right? And for some people who haven't heard this. since we are energy and since we are consciousness, many people, actually many of us, think that discovering our abilities or developing our abilities, only special people can do this, and not everyone can do this. And this cannot be further from the truth, right? As I also stated in my previous video. Since we're energy and we're consciousness, all of the abilities as far as mediumship, channeling, energy healing, energy reading, I would say the lucid dreaming in that sense, being clairvoyant, those are our natural abilities that we're born with, because this is in our nature, because we are energy and we are consciousness. So it's kind of like it's for us like when we're born in the physical body, it's almost for us like walking, right? Or talking or making some type of noises or gestures. So this is very natural to us. And our system is designed that way to keep us actually not aware, not educated about our natural abilities, because within that, the system is designed the way that the system itself doesn't want us to discover our powers, because the system that we are born in, it's the system of control, it's system of oppression, it's system of actually I would say taking out our life source energy every present moment by actually diverting our attention to some type of artificially created entertainments, right? And constantly bombard us with artificial things that I would say distract us from our attention, from ourselves in that sense, right? And so there are a lot of, I would say, there are a lot of illusions. There are a lot of illusions that we are born into, right? And those illusions have been kind of building up and being created. I would say the illusions started to appear. I think they're actually they're infinite illusions. However, I don't know the full story about when illusion started to originate in that sense, right? I would say one thing: the illusion started to originate when we started to give away, when we started to surrender our power to the external sources. So if we are extremely powerful, very powerful spiritual energetic beings in that sense, so if we are that powerful that no one in their power was not going to take our power, could not, I would say it would be impossible for someone to take our power away from us unless we surrendered it, right? Unless we actually started diverting our attention instead of ourselves and connecting with the infinite consciousness energy, with the infinite consciousness source. We started to actually gradually, very slowly, step by step, we started to surrender our powers and looking for things in external sources and trusting the external sources more than we were trusting ourselves in that sense, right? Because the core of the spiritual development is spiritual awakening is actually diverting our attention from kind of turning off the distractions, whatever is happening around us, and diverting our attention inside, right? And kind of starting to be observant of what we're feeling, what we're thinking, and kind of start to separate those thoughts and those feelings. Is this an illusion, or is it a true feeling? Is it an illusion, or is it a true, I would say, thought that we are having in that sense, right? And so when we start to differentiate the true from illusory concept in that sense, right? And we start to remove the illusions, that's when we start to expand our consciousness, right? And so with expansion of our consciousness, I would say our reality changes in that sense, because we start to change. So the change, guys, many of us who are dreaming about who are actually seeing all these injustices that are happening in the world, who are seeing so much, I would say, suffering, so much anger, so much fight, so much war, so many wars, so much of the darkness outside of us, right? Some of us, or many, I guess, who are awakened, I guess, and who sees those kind of injustices. But I think you don't have to be awakened to see those type of injustices are happening all over the world right now, right? So as we see those things are happening in the world, many of us, because the true nature of our soul is love, right? The true nature of our soul is peace. The true nature of our soul is a community and universal oneness in that sense, because we are love, consciousness, infinite consciousness at its highest I would say level of consciousness at which it is now at the present moment, right? And continues to expand into the infinity. It's actually love, right? And so since we are love, those things that are happening in the world are never okay with us. I would say some of you may say, oh, but I know some people who are very, I would say, who are okay with everything, who are actually just kind of approving everything that is happening right around. But guys, this is a kind of an illusory state of that person. That person might be surrounded by illusions as well, and they're being numb. So many of us, because everything, a lot of darkness is being normalized within our society, and it's being normalized on kind of daily basis through, I would say, through media, through social media, through I would say computer games, through educational programs, through like conditioning at our educational facilities in that sense, right? So a lot of darkness is being normalized. So many of us are taking this darkness as it is normal, right? However, within our being, there is truth, right? So since infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence, and I would like to explain this concept as well. Maybe right now it seems like we are going into different places. I would say maybe 1,000 miles an hour and whatnot. We will come back to those concepts, and we're actually going to go into like in depth of each individual concept in that sense. So today we just wanted to concentrate on the channeling and to go further into this concept, because this is very important to understand, because this is kind of like a foundational concept that each one of us was not very familiar with, but needs to understand how it works, because it's very, very important for our expansion, and it's very, very important for awakening of our authentic, unique inner power in that sense, and to awaken to our soul's purpose. Very unique, very authentic soul's purpose that only this individual person will be able to do, or to, I would say, to achieve some results, because it's a very, very unique recipe, right? Because I know a lot of us out there on social media space, in that sense, many of us are kind of when some of us, I guess, in the place of uncertainty, sometimes we don't know what we want to do next, right? And so we're kind of start looking around and kind of seeing what other people are doing. And we are trying to implement, since we don't have this great idea, oh my gosh, what kind of like unique signature I can bring to this consciousness in that sense, what type of unique services or unique kind of product I can bring to the marketplace, right? We're kind of looking at different people and try it on, kind of like new shirts, new piece of clothing, or maybe I could do this one, right? So this woman, let's say she does, I don't know, maybe she does some what can we say, like she does some maybe haircut videos in that sense. And if we are a stylist, we say, okay, maybe we can also do hairstyles, and we can make videos like this, and we try to kind of copy this lady, right? Or we start to look at the guy, and let's say he is playing really good music, and we also have some I would say skills to play some musical instrument, and so we really like what he does, and we start to we want to try to copy him because we see that he's succeeding in this, and we are kind of in very uncertain place. So instead of us actually waiting and discovering our very unique, very authentic I would say signature, we start copying someone else. However, when we are trying to copy someone else, it's very, very important. So when we start to copy someone else, we're actually not going by our authentic way. In that sense, we're not going by our authentic purpose. Even though we can copy someone, or kind of like a mentorship program, we can actually look at someone and maybe try whatever they try. However, if we try to compete, or we try to copy that person and how they, let's say, what they do, we are kind of being swayed away from our authenticity, from our unique signature. In that sense, yes, we can do it for a bit. However, we cannot do this for a lifetime, in that sense, right? So because every one of us is very powerful. First of all, we're very powerful. So the system, how it is designed, it builds all these illusions that we are being distracted every present moment. They're constantly like bombardment of those news, of those entertainment shows, of those movies, of those, just entertaining, kind of like a circus, right? In Rome, when the crowds wanted to be entertained by the system, the establishment, they will come up with different kind of distractions to entertain the public. That public never have, I would say, a quiet time to without external, I would say, distractions, a quiet time to go in, because establishment, they are I don't want to say they, because everything, it's oneness, it's universal oneness, right? So we're all one, and we're part of one. So when in my speech, I always try to avoid word they, because when we put word they, we're kind of creating this separation, and creating a separation, so there is no unity in separation. And infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence, how they bring the information. So the truth is love, everything else is an illusion. So truth is love, and everything else is an illusion. Guys, remember this is very important. So because based on that, it's a very deep concept. And so if we think from the place of love, authentic love, the deep love, that's what I'm talking about, not shallow, even though I don't think there is such a thing as shallow love. If it's something shallow, I don't think it's we can call it love. However, so there is a the truth is love, everything is an illusion, and the concept of love is actually a unity, a community, universal oneness, the peace, right? So when we I would say word they, like, oh, they are trying to take advantage of us, or they are creating those distractions, or they are doing something that we don't approve of, we immediately on conscious and subconscious level, we are creating this kind of separation. So that's how it's very important for us to monitor our I would say our intentions, and monitor our words. Whatever we say, it matters. It's very important, because we are projecting into the universe whatever we are thinking and speaking, right? So our intentions are very important. And so I would like to kind of come to this point that why system, this establishment, is designed to keep us focused on distractions in that sense, right? So infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence, as I was stating in my previous videos, it flows through each one of us. It flows through every living being, every living atom, every living organism in that sense, right? And so since we are infinite consciousness, that materialized in this physical body, right, in this very complex biological computer, because it is a very complex biological computer, right, our body, because it has a lot of abilities as well that we're not aware about. And I would say modern medical system, there are a lot of secrets. There are a lot of secrets that are basically not exposed to us, because our body is very powerful as well. And this information, so guys, as I bring this information forward, some of this information I can hear with you for the first time, because it's channeling, kind of like a life channeling, right? So many concepts about our body, about our being, is going to be, I would say, discovered within my future videos. And we're going to create multiple video series, as was stated previously. When I was recording last video of mine, that's when the concept of video series came into the spoken words in that sense for the first time, because it was kind of a surprise to me when I was speaking last time in front of the camera about the video series. In my mind, I was like, I was thinking, like, what are you talking about? What video series? We did not actually, I never heard about video series, and here we go. I knew videos were going to continue. However, I didn't know it was going into kind of video series. When in the summer, when I was actually, when the channeled writing developed, right, that's when some concepts were given to me. A lot of information was provided to me. However, a lot of information is being kind of withheld and given to me, like one step at a time, one drop at a time. And so that's what happens when we start to expand consciously in that sense. Information is not given to us. Information is not given to us right away. It actually seeps to us. It seeps to us as we are ready for this, right? So information comes in. We're supposed to process it, adapt to it, right? And kind of, I would say, develop concepts through this information that was provided to us. And then based on that, I would say, development, the new information seeps in. Again, we kind of process it. We kind of think about this, we process it, we adapt to this, and new concepts develop from that information, and the new information comes in. It's kind of almost like I would say, almost like a weaving, almost like a sewing, I would say, almost like adding a little bit at a time, It's kind of like a one drop by one drop, one step by one step. So people who are awakened, right, I want to make it very clear that only because we are awakened spiritually, it doesn't mean that information just comes in universally. And plus, and we're going to go into those concepts as well, because the different information is actually given to us, depends on, I guess it depends on the level of consciousness at which we're currently operating under, right? So, and I'm going to explain about this, I guess, later in that sense. So let's come back to why does the system, why is it designed to keep us distracted in that sense at all times? So, as I mentioned just now, so we are infinite consciousness. We're infinite consciousness that is materialized in the physical vessel, in this very complex biological computer, right? And so since we are infinite consciousness already, right? And what is infinite consciousness? What is consciousness? So consciousness is the information and consciousness is the knowledge. Because it's information, it's and it is knowledge, and it is infinite, right? So it already contains within its energetic consciousness, I guess the collective consciousness and infinite consciousness contains all the knowledge, all the information that has been accumulating since the infinity. So many of us think from the beginning of times, right? That's kind of, I would say, from beginning of times in parentheses, because as I was awakened, the information came through that this process, there is no such thing as beginning of times. We were existing here infinitely in that sense. I'm not quite sure how, like, our brain is unable to grasp those concepts of infinity ever, I think, ever, because it's kind of like a mystery. And in my, I would say, a few months back or 1 year back, it came to me that basically, since we are infinity, and we are unable to actually determine who we truly are, because we are, if within us there is infinity, it's within us, outside of us, and it goes into the infinity. And so since we are unable to really explain and grasp with our rational thinking, with our logic, with our rational mind what is infinity, we're unable to really truly understand who we truly are, right? Before, in my earlier, I would say, awakening days, in that sense, that was on the I would say, lower level of consciousness. That's the idea that I was pursuing. I was trying to figure out who is Alessia, who is Alessia before it was before I was given that name, before I was actually given that name Alessia, right? Who is she? And with expansion of the consciousness, I came to the idea that I am infinity. And as soon as we expand to this concept that we are infinity, that's when actually search of who we truly are, it's kind of, I would say, it stops at this level, right? However, it continues. So, and there are a lot of concepts that I would say in our linear thinking, we've been programmed, many of us been programmed, and many of us been conditioned that there is a choice of things, right? We either this or we either that, we either this or we either that. Maybe we're provided with kind of multiple choices. However, as I was expanding and I was understanding, I was exposed to more information, I understood from the infinite consciousness perspective and how our reality operates. It's in many cases it's not even a choice. In many cases it's a combination of things. It's kind of, again, it's kind of like a and I'm receiving very, very strong confirmation, right? So it's kind of like a recipe again. And so this combination concept, if we understand, if we grasp that many things within our reality, within the consciousness, it's not just a choice of things, but it's actually a combination of things, that's when we are expanding drastically, because this is kind of, I think it's a universal rule almost, that there is no choice. There is kind of like the combination of choices that in itself create individual choice in that sense, right? And so there's choice and there is no choice. There is some things we can control, and there is some things we cannot control, right? So it's all like all things exist at the same time, right? All things exist at the same time in that sense. And so Okay, going back. So it's almost like my presentation right now, it almost feels like a tree. It almost feels like almost like a salad in that sense too. So it's almost like a tree where we have a main idea to understand the channeling concept. However, there are different branches that are coming out of this tree. That's almost how the analogy, I see the tree in front of me, right? That's the analogy that infinite consciousness brings right now. So we're kind of like following this main idea of channeling, right? We're discovering this subject because it's very, very important to understand. It's very important to understand that channeling is a universal, natural ability that each of us has. And this one is an instrument through which we connect with the source. We connect with the source. We always connect with the source. And so I also going to kind of expand on those things as we continue, as our branches will grow. So since we are infinite consciousness within our being, but again, it's only, I would say, it's only kind of, how can I say it's within, right? But it's not really within. It's within, it's outside, and it goes into the infinity. So there is no separation between within and which goes into the external. Again, it's a combination of things. It's inner, it's outer, and it's infinity, right? It goes into the infinity. So since this knowledge that actually was existing infinitely in that sense, and since we are it, since all the knowledge, all the information, everything that we the infinite consciousness acquired through this infinity, right? And some people call it from the beginning of times. So since we are it that is materialized in the physical form, in this biological computer, so we possess, guys, listen to me, we possess all the wisdom, all the knowledge, all the information that has been there since the infinity. Right? If you think about this concept, so everything that has been accumulating for infinity, it's already within us, right? So it channels through us, infinite consciousness channels through us, through every little organism, through every little cell of our body, through everything. So our energy system, it's the infinite consciousness, right? And so since there are so many distractions, if you think about this, so there is a truth, there is a great wisdom, there's great abilities, there is like this knowledge, infinite consciousness that we are, right? And you think about this, since it's already within our system in that sense, but we look for the answers in external sources, not realizing that the depth and everything that we need is already within, right? And by discovering this and by actually going into this inner depths of our being, we have a direct access without middle person to all this knowledge, to all this information, to communication and connection with the infinite consciousness energy, with the infinite consciousness source, with the infinite intelligence, with the infinite consciousness, right? So we already have, since we are it, we have direct communication, direct access, direct, I would say, direct exposure to all of this knowledge, all of this wisdom, infinite wisdom, sacred wisdom, ancient wisdom. We have it within ourselves, right? And so in order for us to basically receive the insights, receive the downloads, communicate with the infinite consciousness source energy, right? Because it's an infinite mind. It's the highest mind there is that actually flows through everything. It's omnipresent, guys, and we are it. So within our energy system, we're the ones who have access to all of the knowledge that is here, right now, at the present moment. And in my prior videos, I wanted to make also like a clarity to this subject, right? So infinite consciousness, it expands every present moment through the life experiences that it is experiencing through each living organism, through each living cell on a multi-layered system. And I will explain to you that as well. So there's another branch of channeling that I wanted to talk about, right? So every very smallest particle, and I'm not quite sure what it is. I just know how information came in. The scientists have not discovered the smallest particle yet. And maybe they will never will. Maybe they will never discover the smallest particle. So since infinite consciousness is within each very little, this smallest particle, right? Then it is omnipresent in that sense, right? It's omnipresent. And so, and the system right now is establishment, right? Is designed that way to it understands, okay? So it's also intelligent. So it understands that how to keep our power away from us, from very powerful energetic beings. Because as soon as we start to connect on this inner level, as soon as we start to receive downloads and insights and being in direct connection with the source, with the infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence, we start being guided on our highest soul's purpose in that sense, right? Which is basically an extensive process in itself, and I don't think it's a subject for today's video. Today's video is kind of like the beginning of explaining the channeling concept, right? Because we want to, infinite consciousness and myself, we want to bring clarity into I would say, into the consciousness to people to understand more that each one of us is a channel. Each one of us is a very powerful channel, right? And so we do have access to this infinite information at all times, every present moment, as long as we start turning our attention away from superficial, shallow, I would say artificial distractions, from artificial, I would say, entertainment. When, let's say, and it's not forever, guys. It's not forever to turn our focus away from the external sources, external distractions. And I'll explain to you this as well right now in this video. Because initially what needs to happen is that initially we must become strong and powerful within ourselves, and that's when it's actually needed, right? Because if we have not discovered, if we are not awakened to this knowledge, if we are not awakened to this information, then we are going to, it's very easy to manipulate our consciousness. It's very easy to actually manipulate and control our decisions. It's very easy for the system to control our behavior. And there a lot of damage is done through this control. Okay, because all these wars, everything what is happening in the world right now, it's actually a direct representation of our collective projections, of our collective consciousness into this reality in that sense. So if we see so much darkness in the world, there is no one to blame. There is no one to blame but ourselves in that sense. But even then, we should never blame ourselves, because we were born in the system to, I would say, one of the first purposes that we should accomplish within our life is to awaken, is to be aware, is to awaken to our authentic powers that are already within us. Okay, it's already within us, because we're infinite consciousness that is materialized in this physical, very complex biological computer. Okay, so the system is designed to keep us distracted to those external circumstances, external sources that we could never go into that we could never connect with the source, because as soon as we connect with the infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence, then it's I would say it's very, very difficult, because when we so let me there's so much to share, guys. I'm telling you, it's an infinite knowledge that I have so much to share. That's why I have different concepts that I would like to actually share with you right now. Okay, so as soon as we are awakened, as soon as we're aware, as soon as we're awakened to our infinite potential, in that sense, to our infinite power, and as soon as we connect with the source, right, we start to being, so we are guided regardless, right? We're guided by the source regardless. Either we're in a conscious state, if we're awakened consciously, and if we're not awakened consciously, in that sense, right? So we're still guided. However, when we are guided in like unconsciously, in our unconscious ways, when we're not awakened, everything that we are, so how infinite consciousness guides us, it guides us for us to awaken, in that sense. It gives us lessons to learn, right? So we another purpose of ours through the lifetime is to expand, it actually add to the experiences and add to the knowledge, that infinite consciousness knowledge. So infinite consciousness, when it's actually, I would say, when it experiences this world, every present moment, through every living cell, in that sense, through every living smallest particle of this existence, of this consciousness, it collects the knowledge. It's almost like records the knowledge, and it adds, look at this kind of like a, I would say, a common cloud, right? So it experiences life, let's say, through a smallest particle of our body, let's say, right? And then it experiences so it collects the experience from two smallest particles of this of our body, and then it experiences life through three particles of the body, and then those small particles, they complete the atom, and they complete the molecule, and they complete the the cells, different structures, and then they complete the organs. And so on each levels of this kind of like a breakdown, infinite consciousness experiences this consciousness itself, right? It experiences itself through this type of like the layered system, right? So each, let's say, each cell has its own experience. However, when a different cell, when it's in correspondence with another cell, there is a different knowledge that is being recorded. And then there's a third cell and how they interact with each other. And let's say there is some type of virus maybe, or there's some type of no, not virus, but I guess there is some type of maybe distortion and whatnot. Every information, every knowledge is actually recorded, and it's actually sent to this infinite consciousness cloud, right? And so that's why infinite consciousness is expanding its own consciousness through each present moment by experiencing it on infinite amount of levels, through infinite organisms, and through infinite amount of shapes and forms and so on, right? So I wanted to make it very clear. So it's a very complex, layered system in that sense. And that information was actually shared with me, how it works. So infinite consciousness, and I actually touched on the subject in my previous video. A lot of people have misconception by thinking if it's a God source energy, if it's, if it's God source energy, if it's in infinite consciousness, it's absolute, right? How information came in, it's never absolute, because absolute, in my understanding, it's kind of complete. It's all there is, and it's complete, right? It's kind of at the complete state, but it's never complete, right? It's still learning itself, kind of acquiring new knowledge every present moment for the infinity, right? So it's never ending process. It's never beginning process, and it's never ending process. Okay, so since infinite consciousness experiencing its world or on very infinitely layered system in that sense, right? It experiences every emotion, every feeling, every, I would say, little cut, little, I would say, kiss. It's experiencing this world through all of those senses, through our senses, and how we actually interact and how we experience this world in that sense, right? And so, okay, so that was another branch, and we're going to develop those branches as we move forward with my video series, with our video series. I always want to say it, our video series. In any way, I would like to take a full credit for that information that is coming through, and I wanted to share with you guys. The vivid examples of channeling actually widely exist in our society. However, not all channelers, and please remember this, not all channelers are aware that they are channeling, okay? So that's what I understood, because there are a lot of, I would say, we call them kind of ascended masters, or we call them like gurus, or we call them like great wise teachers in that sense, or we call them great monks who are so wise in that sense. I'll tell you, it's not that their wisdom, it's the infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence flows through their vessel and actually delivers the information through their vessel. And the clearer our vessel is, the clearer our energy system is, the better the transmission, the clearer the message. And it also depends on our level of consciousness, how information is transcribed in that sense, right? How information is presented. So we are individual kind of vessel that receives the signal, and it's always the source, guys. Never, I would say, you can believe whatever you want, but I'm telling you how information came in. Some people may think that they're channeling like different entities, like they are channeling some like individuals, some channel, I don't know, archangels, or some channel angels, or some channel like ETs, right? Some channel extraterrestrial beings in that sense. It's always infinite consciousness. However, it depends on the level of awareness, on the clarity of the vessel, and the level of consciousness of that person, of that vessel, who basically receives the signal, from the source, who channels that wisdom. And so in many, I would give you some example of people who channel and they are not aware maybe that they are channeling actively in that sense, who were channeling actively in that sense, right? So some of them is Yogananda, right? You've heard about Yogananda. So he was a channel. So that's the person who actually cleared his energy system to receive the signal, to being open to that, source energy, to the infinite consciousness knowledge, infinite consciousness wisdom, and he channeled the information. So also another comes to mind is Osho, right? Osho, you guys heard about this, and I am not very familiar with Osho, to be honest. One of my friends, she basically listened, and she heard about Osho. She kind of was listening to his books, reading his books and whatnot, so she's familiar. But she was telling me, Alicia, you speak very similar things to Osho as well, or to those some wise teachers when they bring the knowledge, right? And so you guys can notice that I would say the gurus, people who consider themselves gurus, but who are not consciously aware that they're actually channeling the source, right? They will present this information, but it's unconsciously, I would say unconsciously. They're just not aware that they're channeling. They will write a book or bring some type of like a speech in that sense, and they will put this unconsciously, thinking that it's them who are so wise in that sense. All of us, each one of us has ability to channel, to receive that information, to basically transmute this information through our vessel and to the channeling, I guess the flow of the infinite consciousness is basically depends. I told you three things about our state of awareness, about our level of consciousness. It's about of the clarity of the vessel, right? However, it also depends on the very unique qualities of individual vessel through which the information is channeled, right? So not all channeling, if you hear and if you read books about channeling, many books, I would say, and many information will tell you that they just won't tell you that not all channeling is created equal in that sense. It's not created equal. Channeling is a very unique, I would say, it's a universal ability for all of us. However, how it comes through, I would say the truths, they will come through, I would say, similarly, right? However, they will come true in a unique style, but also they might not come in similarly because each one of us is kind of located at a different level of consciousness with different state of awareness, with a different clarity of our vessel. Look at this as a, let's say, do you know the mosaic window at the church or a cathedral, right? There is a mosaic window. And so, mosaic glass, it's a different color, and so let's assume, or it's kind of like a visual example. That's what infinite consciousness was showing me through all this time. So each I would say each glass of this mosaic window a different color, and so this is our individuality, this is our uniqueness. So there is a I would say yellow glass, there is green glass, there is I would say blue, different multiple colors, right? And so this is our uniqueness, this is our individuality. And some glass, let's say some mosaic glass pieces, let's say some are clearer than the others, right? And some are very dirty, let's say, right? Because they had some maybe psychological traumas, maybe some childhood wounds, maybe some type of stress in their life. Their vessels are so clogged that they are, let's say, foggy, and they're not as clear, and some of them are dirty, right? Dirty that you cannot see the light through, right? And so when the sun shines through the mosaic window, it shines in different colors. I've been to La Sagrada Familia, the Basilica in Barcelona, as they say, right? Barcelona. And I saw these beautiful mosaic windows in that sense. And so when the light comes in through this glass, through different colorful mosaic glass, it reflects in different colors. And so this is our uniqueness, this is our individuality. However, the clearer the glass is, right? So if you are red glass, and the clearer you are, the more vibrant and the more colorful and the, I would say the most beautiful the light is going to actually reflect of the red glass or the blue glass, right? So window in that sense. But if the glass is kind of foggy, it's dirty, it's maybe like really dirty, the sunlight cannot, when it comes through that glass, it comes, sometimes the glass is so dirty that the sunlight cannot come through. That some of us are so, I would say, so clogged with those type of wounds, the traumas, and mental disorders, right? And I'm not quite sure. So this subject is going to also be discovered. So there's no mental capacity or intellectual capacity to process the information as it comes through. That's also a factor, right? So many concepts within our being need to be at the harmony with each other in that sense. It's kind of like in the ancient literature, I guess even in the Bible, it says that our body is our temple. It's a temple, right? And so I strongly agree with that, right? So the clearer our glass, the brighter and I would say clearer the sunlight goes through that glass. And so this is a concept of channeling, guys. It's not only the I would say the individual color, and that's our unique gifts and talents that I was telling you about on the beginning of this video. But it's also a I would say the clarity of that glass, the clarity of our vessel. It's very, very important to understand. So the person who is operates on a lower level of consciousness, who, let's say, just opened the channel. I remember myself at the end of 2023, that's what my channeling ability actually awakened. That's when it's developed. That's when my vocal cords started to being manipulated by this infinite, not manipulated. I kind of, it's well, manipulated in a good sense, right? It was guided. My vocal cords started to basically being changed, being tweaked by this energy. So I was speaking in different voices, the lower voice, the masculine voice, and it was feminine voice, very tender voice, and there would be like different personalities come through. But everything is the source, guys. There is no such thing as different entities. Different entities only exist on the lower level of consciousness, right? When there is a still there is some sense of belief of separation, and when the person did not actually elevated their level of consciousness to the concept of unity, to the concept of community, to the concept of universal oneness, in that sense, when all of those are correspond together, right? So there is a still separation. That's when person they believe that they're channeling individual entity, and it will feel very true to them because they're operating within this level of consciousness at which they are channeling that entity. I know I kind of monitor some, not monitor, but on social media, there are a lot of, I would say, psychics and mediums and channelers, and they will say, oh, I channel Archangel Michael in that sense, right? And or I channel some Archangel Raphael, right? However, and this will, so their reality will actually will manifest those events and those things into their consciousness in that sense, right? That will reflect their belief system. So that's why it's very important, and it's very deep concept in its own, how our belief system and our level of consciousness, it creates our reality. So on different level of consciousness, there is a different type of reality. So if we believe in something, that is going to manifest within our reality. If we believe in aliens, if we believe in extraterrestrial beings, then I know there is a channeler, and his name, I think, David, I forgot his name, but he's channeling Bashar, right? Bashar. And so that, so he's channeling individual entity. I did not watch a lot of his channeling. I guess I watched a few, but did not watch a lot of them. However, so the person is exposed to that idea, to the belief system that they're extraterrestrial beings, and maybe they are. So I never came across, in my reality, it never manifested. So in my reality, so I don't really believe in aliens in that sense. So in my reality, it didn't manifest. However, there's a higher truth to all. There's higher truth to all. As far as the information is coming about extraterrestrial beings, it says that at this level of consciousness at which I'm currently am, right? So majority of us don't know all of the animals, all of the birds, all of the insects. We don't know our, let's say, neighbors in that sense, right? So, but again, expansion starts from within. Expansion starts from within. And so we don't know the natural world around us. And so what we need to, and many of us don't know ourselves in that sense. So in order for us to expand, we should always start with ourselves, right? And so this is the answer right now to all of the distractions that have to do something with the extraterrestrial activity in that sense. So I don't know if they exist. right? So, and I'm not going to sit here and debate, because there's so much more I need to basically learn and understand about my nature, about myself, because there's infinity within. There's infinity within. I don't really need to go and start understanding extraterrestrials, but if you really have this type of, like, I guess, push, if you are really gravitated towards this information, some of us are very gravitated to the information, to research if there's some like forest fairies and whatnot, and some of us are very gravitated to research the information about, I don't know, maybe a snowman, or I don't know, like any type of kind of magical creatures, right? And maybe there's some mythology and different type of knowledge, right? So when we are naturally gravitated towards something to study or to learn more about this, it means there's like natural desire for us to understand this concept, right? So it might be adding to that kind of sacred recipe for expansion of our consciousness and for expansion of our natural gifts and talents, and also expansion of our creativity, right? However, it's very important not to mix those natural, I would say, desires to learn about something. It's very important not to mix it with constant distractions that many of us are being involved in. So our consciousness is being, I would say, the system is designed to manipulate our consciousness, and through manipulation of our consciousness, system is designed to manipulate our behavior, right? How we behave, what we think, what we buy, what we, how we interact in this world, in that sense. So there are a lot of illusions on this level of consciousness. There are a lot of illusions, and awakening process and the consciousness expansion process is helping us to actually let go of those illusions, that we are exposed to the higher level of consciousness. And if we're exposed to the higher level of consciousness, we exposed to the higher truths, in that sense. And so our reality, it actually reflects that level of consciousness. Obviously, some people also, there's a great misunderstanding that some people think if they're enlightened, they know it all. So they're exposed to all, and they're part with everything, and they know it all, right? Guys, it's impossible, I would say, and I declare it very clearly, it's impossible for us to know everything in that sense, because once, so as I stated previously as well, information changes every present moment. Information is like infinite amount of things being shifted every present moment, transformed every present moment. If infinite consciousness itself, it doesn't know itself fully, it actually keeps expanding its knowledge, keeps expanding its experiences, it keeps expanding its understanding. That infinite consciousness itself doesn't know fully itself, right? Because it constantly expands. Since it's infinity, no one, even infinity itself, doesn't know what infinity is, because it's infinite processes. Okay. So, and channeling, let's say, I always come back to this, concept, because it's very important to understand, because we want to bring clarity. We're here to actually break illusions and break misconceptions about the channeling, right? So today in this video, we've learned that each one of us possesses great power. Each one of us, because we are infinite consciousness materialized in a physical body. This is kind of like, I want to make kind of like a summary what we discussed today, right? And then this infinite knowledge, all the wisdom, everything is already within us. So it's the matter of us removing distractions from our life, and we're going to talk about this maybe in my future videos, not maybe, but we're going to talk about this in my future videos. So the main part is to remove distractions and actually start connecting with our being, start connecting with our soul, in nature, in solitude, in quietude, in meditation, right? In quiet space where we can just sit and we can sit and we can actually start monitoring, start observing our thoughts, start observing our feelings, and start differentiating what is true to us at this particular moment. Because things that seem to us as true at this particular moment, it doesn't mean that they're going to seem true to us when we expand in that sense, right? So I told you, so reality, the truth, and I also said that truth actually it shifts. Well, the authentic truth also is subjective, and we're going to go into these concepts, right? It's much deeper concept, but I'm saying that the truth for us, like it's subjective, and it's actually will change with our expansion. If the truth is actually it's authentic, it's never going to change through our expansion process in that sense. So this is kind of like a set concept that is going to be confirming itself through our expansion. However, if we believe there is something is true on this level of consciousness, as soon as we expand and as soon as we actually remove the illusions, remove the distractions in that sense, we expand our consciousness. Many concepts they start falling apart because those are illusory concepts, just like separation, right? So if we are on the lower levels of consciousness, separation is an illusion. So when we come to the concept of unity, of the infinite consciousness, love source energy, it's a love source. And I said very important thing. We said very important thing in this video is that truth is love. Everything is an illusion, guys. Everything else is an illusion. So truth is love, and everything else is an illusion. And this is very, very deep concept. So it's actually a multi-layered, infinitely layered concept as well. And so, okay, conclusions. So we're all individual channelers. Each one of us has this ability, and to connect with infinite power, it's very, very simple, right? It's because it's in our nature. We are it, and it is us. So when I communicate with infinite consciousness, they or it told me, right, Alicia, don't you ever think that we're separate from each other. We're never separate. We're always the same. So you are I, and I am you. So, right? And so this infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence, when we establish this channel of communication, when establish this kind of guidance, conscious guidance, right? Because I told you guidance can be in both states, in unconscious and conscious in that sense. And how I differentiate the two, the unconscious state, it's the time before the awakening, before the spiritual awakening in that sense. And that's kind of like a breaking point from this type of reality into a different type of reality, into the expansion. So before I would say in our unconscious state, the infinite consciousness guides us for us to awaken, for us to become conscious, for us to actually discover our infinite power and establish this connection. Establish this connection. First of all, being aware about that this connection exists and it's within. This connection exists and it's within. It's every present moment, right? So every present moment when we want to connect to the infinite consciousness source energy, it is here. We just need to remove distractions and be in the peacefulness and calmness and solitude and sit in it, right? Sit with our uncomfortable thoughts, sit with our uncomfortable selves in that sense. Because I know some people, for many people, many of us, it's very difficult to be in solitude because their different thoughts start to come into head, maybe different memories, maybe shame comes in, maybe some unpleasant memories, maybe there's some trauma start to basically come to the surface. But this is a good thing. This is a good thing. In order for us to let go of something, it's a really good thing for us to be aware what we need to let go of. But not in many cases, as I told you previously, everything is a combination of things. In many cases, we're not going to know what we need to let go of. because in many cases we are unaware what type of childhood trauma we received when we were a child, when we were maybe within our mother's womb, in that sense, right? Because we just don't know. Yeah, even though the knowledge is within, however, it's not up to us, it's to the infinite consciousness source to allow us to let go of those type of wounds. When we start to connect, we start to heal. So the I would say the unconscious state at which we're guided as well, unconsciously. We're always guided unconsciously or consciously, because we're one with this, right? So in unconscious state, we're guided towards awakening, towards spiritual awakening through all the lessons and everything else. Let go of some traumas, let go of some ties that don't no longer serve us in that sense. And there's a breaking point of awakening. And so at awakening, now we are being, so when we are awakened, right, then that's when the deep healing starts. That's when we actually start to let go of more and more things that don't serve our highest and best. We almost kind of, it's almost like peeling an onion in that sense, right? It's almost like peeling an onion. And the more we let go, the more we elevate, the more we actually expand our consciousness, and the more we start shifting through the levels of consciousness by clearing our vessel, because the more we let go, the clearer our vessel becomes. It's again, this example with the mosaic window glass. The more we let go, the more we clean that glass surface through which the light can come without distortions. Because when it comes through the dirty glass, the light doesn't come fully. Sometimes it doesn't come at all. It depends on the kind of like dirtiness of this glass. Or sometimes, in many cases, it comes with distortions, right? It comes with distortions. So anyway, so that's when the deep healing starts. And so when we go through the deep healing process, that's when actually we start coming more to ourselves, and we start to actually recognize our power. We step into our powerful self in that sense, but it's step-by-step process. So it's a very gradual process, guys. Never believe, I would say, you can believe whatever you want to believe, right? However, if infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence, they take, I say they because it's unity, it's, universal unity in that sense. So if even they take the time to build foundations, and even if they always communicate patience, belief, patience, trust, faith, patience, like the sweetest fruit needs some time. In order for the strong growth, the great foundations need to be built, right? And it's a process. It's never like instant. It's never overnight. So be wary about I would say some people who will tell you, oh, we're going to do something very quickly for you. You're going to come to our session. Well, after you pay, let's say, a few $100, you're going to come to our session and you're going to be healed, and you're going to be released of everything that is holding you. No, guys. Infinite consciousness. It's a very gradual process, and it's very, I would say, gentle process, that our energy system, everything is done correctly. And at that point, we don't really need anyone except for this connection with the infinite consciousness. We never need a middleman between us and the source, because it's already there, right? Remember this. We never need. And this connection, if you hear some people will say, oh, I connect to divine, and so only through my course you will be able to expediently connect with the infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence. But this course, you got to sign up right now, otherwise the offer is going to expire. And typically this course is like $2,000, but today we're selling it for like $95 or $100 and whatnot. And I read comments from this type of like advertisement on social media, and I'm thinking, and I see so many people, oh my gosh, I wish I could make it to this conference. Oh, I wish I could do it. Oh, I wish I could do it. So many of us don't understand kind of that connection with the source. It's our natural state, it's our natural ability, and it's free, right? And it's very simple, because it's kind of like going and brushing our teeth, or talking or thinking. It's that easy, guys, because infinite consciousness, as I understood through my connection with the infinite source, the connection is instant, right? It's instant, only because our the reason why we don't, many of us, majority of us, I would say, don't receive the signal back. So we send the signal, right? We try to talk to, some of us trying to talk to God, or let's say try to say a prayer, try to communicate with the infinite power, and many of us don't hear anything back. But many of us don't hear anything back. It's not because infinite consciousness does not communicate with us, right? Because it communicates with us every present moment. However, many of us don't hear this connection, this instant, constant connection back, because our vessel is, I would say, is not as clear to receive that signal clearly, in that sense, right? So we really, in that state, we really need to concentrate on making sure we're letting go of everything and anything that does not support our highest and best. And in many cases, this process is not very comfortable, because you do have to sit in the quietude, in the solitude for hours in nature, or just in the empty room, and kind of face that shame, face those unpleasant memories, face those kind of I would say traumas and wounds and whatnot, the thoughts that are coming into your head. Not specifically go and dig into like the past, try to remember what's been in the past, but it's typically whatever needs to be let go, it's on our mind once we start sitting in the quiet room. Once we start sitting in the quiet room, those thoughts are coming to the surface, and they're not our enemies. Many, I would say, many people in spirituality, they will say, oh, we need to like stop our thoughts. No, actually, how information comes in, see, it's the highest truth. There is a higher truth to all, right? So in the beginning, on the lower level of consciousness, only we think that we need to get rid of our thoughts. How information comes to me, no. Like thoughts are that kind of, there's an analogy. In order for you to let go of something, you need to be aware what needs to be let go first, in that sense, right? Obviously, there's a depth to it, and it's impossible for us to know everything that we need to let go of, but that's when infinite consciousness is actually taking over on the deeper sense, and that's when it's actually helps us to let go of things that we're not aware about. But on the surface level, it starts with us. When those thoughts arise, it means that those thoughts need to be basically kind of sorted, right? Is this thought, is it for my highest and best? Does it serve my highest and best? Or is it is no longer serving me? If it's no longer serving me, then I need to let go, right? I need to let go of this thought. And how will it go of the thought? This information doesn't come to me right now, as we're channeling right now. It doesn't come to me right now. So I'm assuming that's going to be in my future video series as well. How to we're going to start from kind of like the basis, from the beginning, and we're going to explain all the concepts right from the beginning, that there's a greater understanding before we actually start the processes. Because I am, in my nature, that's my kind of natural ability, I'm very methodical person, even with my studying, with my work ethic, with my my boss even was kind of saying, Alicia, when you come to the office and there's so many emails, my objective was, because I'm such a methodical person, I like to start everything from the beginning. I like to start everything from scratch. Even when I was learning English, even though I learned some English at school, it didn't actually settle with me. I started learning English in Russia like a few months before I came to United States, right? I took a book for maybe a first grader at the library, and I started right from the beginning. So my style, my uniqueness in that, in order for me to study something, I need to start from the first page. I could never, like some people, I know some people who read the book, they will just kind of, okay, they will shuffle some pages and they will read some information on this page, on the other page, and they will go to the other page, right? And they kind of like scattered through the book and they kind of got the information. No, I like to read even right from the first page, right? Because I want to understand the whole concept right from the beginning. I'm this type of person. I like to understand the basis first, and that's how my spiritual awakening and development was happening, kind of understanding the basis first, because on basis, I understand the concept. Like if the foundational information is already laid out, then the stronger concepts, the more expensive concepts, right? Concepts we can build on it in that sense. So when foundations are understood, foundations are I would say, foundations are laid out. And so that's how we're going to, I think the next video, we're also going to expand into channeling, because it's very important to understand when multiple books will tell you the concept of channeling. I only read one book about channeling, and that's the only book I read after the book of Debbie Malone, How to Awaken Your Psychic Abilities. So that was the first book in my spirituality, How to Awaken Your Psychic Abilities. And the second book that Infinite Consciousness allowed me to read, I had multiple books in different areas. I had a kind of numerology, I had some books about different books, right? But however, only book I was allowed to read, it's about channeling, kind of on the beginning. And I kind of highlighted a couple of paragraphs from that book. But even then, in that book, they were telling, the authors of this book were describing channeling individual entities and what channeler channeled what entity. And I understand now, as I expanded my consciousness, I understand the person who wrote this book, they actually were operating on the lower level of consciousness, where they channeled individual entities in that sense, right? They didn't channel the source, they didn't channel the unity, they didn't channel the universal oneness. They were channeling kind of like the individual entities in that sense, right? And so that's the only book I read, but majority of information that comes to us through the source, through the knowledge. And guys, another information comes in. So there is no such thing as an individual, a singular inventor or invention. There is no such thing, remember this, there is no such thing as an individual inventor or invention. And we're going to expand on this in my future videos as well. But for now, maybe it's time for us to actually conclude our video session for today. So today we've learned that all power that we need, all the knowledge, all the wisdom, everything is within. That's why the system is trying very hard to create so much entertainment and pull our attention away from our being, because the system is designed, it wants to stay in control, it wants to oppress, it wants to so there's a desire to oppress and control and to manipulate and to place all these deceptions. But again, the system is direct representation of our collective projections, right? The health of the system tells me about the health of the common consciousness of the society in general, because with a healthy society, with awakened society, with expanded consciousness society, our system will change. So now we're going back to that original idea that I was talking about, is that many of us who see those injustices in the external world, who sees those wars, those type of conflicts, those type of attacks, those injustices, kind of like injustices, right? Many of us who want to change this world, right? First of all, believe that you can. Believe that you can. It's in our power to change this world. However, in order for us to change this world, we must start with ourselves. We must build the foundation. We must discover this power within. We must connect with the infinite intelligence that is within us in order for us to change ourselves first before we can change this world. And we're able to. That's why the system is afraid of us awakening. That's why the system is afraid of us awakening to our fullest potential, because it knows awakened person is impossible to manipulate, right? It's impossible to manipulate of awakened person. It's impossible to, let's say, lie and deceive the awakened person, because awakened person, they are attuned. The more we expand our consciousness, the more attuned we become to the lies and to the illusions and to manipulations and to psychological operations of this system, right? So it's impossible to control. It's impossible to control the awakened person. So that's why system is so desperately trying to manipulate our consciousness, manipulate our behavior, and trying to pull us away from ourselves, because they know, not they, again, I'm watching my language. So it's not they, because they create separation. So the system, the establishment, right, the system that we create, that we project every present moment, it's actually is afraid of us awakening, guys, because it is known for us to have those great powers within. We are very, very powerful. So if you think, if you have an idea, oh, what can I do? I'm like, this is a big system, I'm unable to do anything. No, you can. Yes, you can. So start being awakened, start being aware, start removing distractions from your life. That's like the number one, I would say, the first step to the spiritual awakening. I would say, in my previous video, I said we need to relax and we need to let go of the control, but we're going to talk about this later. The initial step, I guess, the takeaway from today's video is that start observing your kind of space, what you are surrounded by, what type of emails you receive on daily basis, what type of mail you receive on daily basis, what type of channels you are following or you are signed on, what type of channels you're watching, right? What type of people you're talking to, what type of, I would say, things you're paying attention to. And with each individual thing, ask yourselves, is this serving my highest and best, or is it pulling my attention to the things that don't serve my highest and best, or is it distracting me, right? So if the answer is yes, it is distracting me, and yes, it is kind of not serving my highest and best, then sign off, unfollow, unsubscribe, right? Just kind of clear out your schedule. Clear out your emails, unsubscribe, unfollow, undo, that you would not be bothered by these distractions moving forward. And try to do it on a kind of regular basis, re-evaluating your surrounding space, right, where your attention goes. If your attention is constantly pulled by those external circumstances, then I would say, the evaluation process and kind of declaring your physical space, right? Because many of us are, I know many of us are having a lot of clutter within the home, right? So first of all, in order for us to get ourselves in order for us to kind of free ourselves from the burden and this clutter, kind of like physical clutter, mental clutter, I would say emotional clutter, we need to evaluate those spaces. So the first step, I would say, look around and clear out your physical space. Let go and get rid of all of the things that you think you might need them one day, however you haven't used them in a few years, and possibly you won't use them in another few years, right? So donate them, find the best use, not just like trash it when other people can use it. It's always using of the thing that you have to the highest and best. So if this thing is not useful to you, if for example it's just laying there collecting dust, just give it to someone, right? Just put it on the marketplace or on your community app where other people may use it, right? So don't just trash it. I know it's in the Western culture in America, where things are so easily available to us. There is not really a great value placed on things in many cases, right? It's kind of placed and then not placed and not placed, right? Kind of like our society is gravitated towards materialistic things. However, once we get those materialistic things, many of us, I'm noticing on social media, and it's not judgment, it's kind of like what I'm noticing, right? No judging at all. Many of us are not valuing the things that we have, right? Many of us are whatever, like not very not very careful with using those things, right? And not very kind of trashing those things, like tossing those things very easily into the trash can, or I don't know, just kind of not very, I would say, careful with using those things, because I was growing up very poor, and so I had only one pair of shoes for maybe 2 or 3 seasons in that sense, right? One pair of shoes. Even when my shoes had holes, we had to bring them to kind of like a master who would fix the shoes, and I would wear them in other 2 or 3 seasons until they completely like breaking off and I'm unable to wear them because those holes were too big and whatnot, right? So and there's a great value in that, because we're using utilizing this thing to its highest and best. And so first of all, like let's go back. So the first step is to declutter the space. So start with physical space, and remember, consciousness, it's energy, right? So in energy, it's movement. So when we declutter our physical space, we're actually communicating to the consciousness that we are preparing space for the new, that we are actually clearing out, letting go of everything and anything that does not support our highest and best. So it's very important, even on energy conscious level, to let go of things that no longer serve our highest and best. Second thing is our mental clutter, right? So kind of look around, like what does your attention goes to? How many emails do you receive per day? Do you really need to receive so many emails? Like how much mail do you receive? There's a lot of junk mail, right, that is coming through. Maybe there's some options to completely opt out of those things, that they don't distract our attention. Even if it's a junk mail, even if it's an email that we don't really participate in or we're not interested in, by receiving this email on daily basis, it kind of distracts our attention, right? So where our attention goes, so how can I say, infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence flows through us every present moment. So in every present moment, guys, as we expand, every present moment becomes more valuable in that sense. It becomes precious. It becomes so precious that we become really aware where our attention goes every present moment. So we cut off all of the distractions in that sense from our life to free our schedule. Once we declutter, let's say, our mental space, our emotional space also needs to be decluttered, right? And emotional, I'm talking about maybe the relationships in our life that you feel in many cases, and I'm not talking about like our loved ones in that sense, but I'm talking about maybe our acquaintances or people we are in regular contact, and some of those people are just kind of calling us on regular basis, and they maybe always complaining to us about something. Maybe they're expressing their negativity constantly, and just kind of start feeling yourself, basically trying to feel your, I would say, inner voice and feelings, what you're experiencing during or after you speak to this particular person. If you constantly feel like you are drained after the conversation, if you constantly feel, for example, if this person calls you and you just don't want to talk to this person, right? However, like, okay, I know this guy for years, or I know this girl for years, and she possibly needs me, but I don't really want to talk to her. Don't talk to her, right? You don't owe anybody anything. So kind of start getting yourself distant from those type of, I would say, toxic relationship that constantly drain your energy, right? There's some great people who you talk to and you feel uplifted, and there's some interesting insights are going through. But there are a lot of people, what I also understood through my spiritual awakening, there are a lot of people within the circle, they don't really, I would say, they're not happy when you're happy. And they are, so when you're happy, they don't wish you happiness, right? And when you are in, let's say, trouble, and when you are feeling down, they kind of feel this inner happiness within themselves, because it makes them feel better about themselves and about their life. So they're not really true friends in that sense. So, and we're going to touch on the subjects later as well, because as we expand our consciousness, so we let go of people like this from our lives, and that's also clears our energy and clears our system for more kind of like a creative process on our expansion. But it's different with intentional incubation as well, that I'm going to talk about. So remember, there's a combination of all things, right? So there are multiple categories of what we experience in this lifetime. Okay, guys, so it's been kind of like a longer video. I didn't expect this to be so long. I am very pleased to what we covered today. Again, this is kind of a very, I would say, surface information, right? Even though it's very, I would say, for some people, it's very deep information. It is deep in itself. It's very deep information, what I'm talking about. However, this information is going to be expanding too. So because this main subject, it's a video series, and this tree I'm going to call channeling, the channeling tree, right? And so channeling tree has the big branches coming out, right? However, from the big branches, there are smaller branches, and from the smaller branches, there are even smaller branches and whatnot. So it's kind of like a very, very extensive subject to cover. So what else did we cover? Yeah, so the power and everything else is within us in order for us to start basically creating this solitude, creating the space within our life. We need to clear out the distractions, clear out our schedule, and to place ourselves into kind of a very, I would say, natural for us environment, right? Clear out the physical clutter, the mental clutter, the emotional clutter. In that sense, kind of evaluating everything that we're surrounded by on daily basis, every present moment, and see where our attention goes every present moment, right? So kind of monitor that, because this is going to really create a great benefit to the expansion, to the awakening process. And whatever things I am talking about, guys, I went through this personally. So I'm not just talking just some theory, right? Some unattainable theory that maybe I read somewhere. I actually, when awakening process happened, infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence, they told me to, Alisa, all the knowledge, all the wisdom is within you. So now let's donate all of your books into the library, right? So I gathered all my books, except for like couple books which I'm not reading. It's about like, one is about herbs, right? Like forest herbs, and another one is on the Greek mythology. It's kind of like a very I didn't open well, I kind of looked through the pictures and whatnot, but these couple books I'm keeping, and another one, the small one, if the God was son, by one of the mediums. I'm not quite sure why I'm holding still on this book, but all of my books were donated to the local libraries, right? And so the knowledge that I'm presenting to you, I have not read this in the book. It's actually a combination of things. It's my experiences, right? My knowledge, my experiences that I went through, and a lot of this information is so all of this is actually a channel. It's a channeling from the source on this level of consciousness, right? And so, but we today discovered some things, that channeling is not created equal, and channeling is also our ability to channel. It's also expands with expansion of our consciousness as well. So the more we expand, the more, I would say, the higher truth we receive the highest truth. However, I would not be led and be guided to create this video if I was not consciously ready to present to you guys this information. So that's why I haven't been posting much since my spiritual awakening. I haven't been posting for like 3 years, right? Like I've been posting here and there, but those are kind of like initial, very, I would say, very brief videos that I was posting, even though I had some very longer channeled updates in that sense. Still, that information is considered basic, because everything that I channeled previously, it was happening prior to my last, I would say, huge transformation, huge kind of realignment and activation process of I guess the other abilities that are activated during this time. I was communicated by the infinite consciousness. There are so many abilities within us that we're not aware about, because again, the system is designed to keep us small, to keep us powerless, to keep us because the system's interest is to manipulate our consciousness, to manipulate our behavior into control, right? Totalitarian control in that sense. And so that's why it's so fearful of the people who are awakened in that sense. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of spiritual information was actually manipulated by some media sources to being suppressed in that sense. I'm already noticing this on some platforms, right? But it is what it is. We are not here to operate from the level of the victim in that sense. We are here to discover our inner power, and we are here to rise up to elevate above all, and to actually come into the position of the power, come into the position of the leadership, come into the position of the conscious creator in that sense. So it's kind of like a journey, but it's a very interesting journey, and it's a very fulfilling journey, guys. You are not going to find this type of fulfillment anywhere, not in any of the external, I would say, chasing of illusions that many of us are chasing, right? So the spiritual expansion, the awakening, the spiritual expansion, and expansion of awareness, that's very beneficial on many levels of our I would say of our life, because through that's how we change not just our life, but the life of others, and this environment in that sense. That's how we start actually operating on a very, I would say, mass global scale, right? So whatever you're witnessing right now with my videos is just kind of like humble beginnings. We're going to proceed with this journey, and a lot of information will be opened because right now the infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence presenting, how can I say, through those transformations, my vessel was cleared, right? So my vessel was purified in that sense, in order for me to present the information in the purest, clearest state for this level of consciousness at which I'm currently am, right, to present this without and clearing a lot of illusions. So within my future episodes, we're just going to be clearing a lot of illusions, right, a lot of misconceptions and whatnot, and how it all basically will help us all to expand, right? So stay tuned to my videos, guys. It was very nicely connect with you. Again, a reminder, in these kind of challenging times for many, it's very important to preserve this love and this peace within our heart, right? Because we are love. We are this unconditional love that is materialized in the physical reality. So it's very important for us to preserve our true nature, which is being loving and being peaceful, and project that into this consciousness. And by projecting this into the consciousness, we are already shifting a lot of things around us, and we're shifting this consciousness. We're expanding this consciousness as well, right? By projecting the elevated emotions of peace, love, unity, community, right? Placing all of our differences behind of ourselves, not looking at the political party, not looking at the all of those illusions, like the separation. I guess the separation like this, it's almost like it can exist in its healthy state. The separation can exist in its healthy state when we are consciously ready for it. At this level of consciousness, we're not ready to operate within the separation concept. And that's kind of like a new idea that just came in to me as well, right? Because separation right now, we look at this as from a different light in that sense. When we are consciously expanded, we're embracing the separation for our individuality, right? Because our relationship to separation, it's different versus, let's say, if we're on a lower level of consciousness, we treat and we operate within the separation concept completely different versus if we are consciously expanded, then we are operating within the separation concept in a healthy way, in a more conscious way in that sense. It's actually separation becomes, and I'm receiving a lot of confirmation, so separation becomes our strength in that sense as well, to develop our individual communities that specialize in individual kind of advance in very, I would say, very unique technology, very unique advancements in that sense. And then those communities, because there is a separation exists within those communities, then after that, those communities can come together, but they're never fighting and there is never competition. There is kind of like a different just branches of development. That separation is needed for this diversity, right? Because we, each one of us can excel only to the maximum in our individual fields, right? In our uniqueness. So separation provides this kind of environment for this type of unique expansion, unique advancement. But at that point, however, at that point, separation is operated. We are operating with separation in a different level of consciousness, at more expanded state, when we are actually, it's very healthy for us. At this time, at this lower level of consciousness, separation is not healthy for us, guys, because there are a lot of illusory constructs within this, because separation itself as a concept presents itself different on the different levels of consciousness, right? Since on the higher level of consciousness, at more elevated state, it becomes our strength. At the lower level of consciousness, it becomes a detriment. So at this time, we need to come back to kind of like the, go back to basics, go back to unity. And then after we came back to the unity concept, that's when we go into separation, but separation from the place of strength in that sense. And it's completely different than channeling the separate entities, right? So it's more information will be opening up to us through my through our future video series. What else today? I think this is it. So infinite consciousness, infinite intelligence shows me that this is it. So it was a longer than expected video, but again, no expectations should be placed on the time duration of the video, because it's all kind of in flow, it's all channeled, it's all kind of not up to me in that sense, right? So thank you so much. Please preserve this peace within your heart. And I will see you later in my future videos. Love and peace, guys. Take care.